What's up guys, Rorlin here. This time on 3D NerdStop, we're going to start our R2-D2 project by working on the dome. Alright guys, here's what we're going to do. This is our 3D printed R2-D2 project. Now this is the Thingiverse. This is my collection on Thingiverse of all the parts and pieces to it. Now Mike has a Patreon account, and I signed up to be a Patreon of his, and that gives me access to other files to do R2-D2 with. So I'm actually going to use the files, a mix between here and there, depending on what files he has there and what files he does not. So as we get that through this, you know, if a file isn't on his Patreon account, I'll use the files from here. So the dome, he has the dome on his Patreon account, so those are the files I'll be using. But if you don't have access or don't want to pay for access to those files, you can just use these right here on Thingiverse. You can just come down here and use them on the dome, okay? Alright, so the ones I'm doing, he has, in his new files, he has them cut two different ways. He has them cut like they're on Thingiverse, where they're designed for a shorter printer, or he has them set for a taller printer, like the ROBO, which will do up to 200 millimeters. So these are like at 198 or 196, somewhere in there, 192 millimeters high. So I'm printing the taller ones because I can, so that'll mean less gluing and bondoing and all that stuff to finish the model. So as you can see here, we'll go through all the settings. Now there's a total of 8 pieces for this. The first 6, all the primary settings will be the same. The time and amount of material it takes is different. And then on the last 2, they're the same. Other than they're pretty much the same regardless, but the time and everything's pretty close to each other. So we're going to go over the basic settings real quick, and then we'll run through all of them real quick, showing just the time and weight. And then we'll do the last 2. I will go over it all again real quick and do the last time and weights. All right. So here we go. So we have a layer height of 0.3, a shell thickness of 1.2, a top and bottom thickness of 1.2. I only did a fill density of 10%. I did my print speed at 60 millimeters, my print temperature at 200, and my bed temperature at 60. Okay, on these I did not use any support material. Alright. Okay, so the first one here said it was going to take 11 hours and 46 minutes and 206 grams. Our second one here said it was going to take 10 hours and 47 minutes and 189 grams. Our third one here said it was going to be 9 hours and 23 minutes, which is 165 grams. Our fourth one here says it's going to be 11 hours and 1 minute, and it was 195 grams. And our fifth one here said it was going to take 12 hours and 37 minutes, and it was 219 grams. And our last one at these settings, which would be the sixth one, would be 10 hours and 51 minutes and 192 grams. So that takes care of giving you the main part all the way around the dome. And then the top of the dome are these little pieces. Okay, the majority of the settings on the side are the same. It's still a layer height of 0.3, shell thickness of 1.2, top and bottom of 1.2, print speed at 60, print temperature at 200, bed temperature at 60. But on this one I did have to do support material touching the build plate. So it adds support material right in here. Now I maybe could have gotten away without doing it. I didn't try. Maybe I should print one and try, but I just decided it'd be best to put the support material in there. So as you can see, when I do put the support material in there, what it looks like. Okay, so it just puts support material right there. Alright, so this one says it could take 2 hours and 31 minutes and only 38 grams of material. Alright, our next one with the exact same settings says 2 hours and 30 minutes and 38 grams of material. And yes, they do look identical to each other, but they are different. Alright guys, we'll save these off to a bunch of SD cards, take them over to the printer, get the printer heated up, and get her printing. Alright guys, here we are. We're out in the garage. As you can see, I've got all the pieces laid out. We're going to go through and clean them up, take out the parts that don't need to be there real quick. I am trying an experiment. I got my camera here and I got my camera here. So hopefully between the two cameras you can see everything I'm doing. So we'll just go through these parts real quick. Like these, I've got a lot of little breakaway film, support material that the designer put on here. They worked beautiful. It's just a matter of cleaning them all up and pulling them all off. Now, of course, you will notice as we go through this, I'm going to speed the footage up as I go along, so y'all don't have to watch every agonizing second of this. Alright, we can use a file and some sandpaper on that to finish cleaning that up. Now on this piece, we actually have this that's extra right here. This one actually had it too, but I went ahead and broke it out just to see how well they came out. They came out pretty easy on it. It's just a matter of doing that, and the piece pops right out. So that comes out real easy. It's a real nice design. I mean, the way he designed this, it has just enough support material almost everywhere you need it, so it supports everything beautifully. So there were no real problems with overhangs or bad groups. I think it did a wonderful job. There is a lot of little pieces to break off because of all the support material, but that's just part of 3D printing. Not the easiest pieces to remove. Alright guys, well, I broke off the majority of it. Now I need to go do a little cleanup on it here. So I'm going to take a file and file some of this stuff down real quick. Alright guys, that pretty much takes care of cleaning those up. I'll probably clean them up a little bit more before I paint them, but I need to get some sheets of sandpaper to get in there and sand with, and I don't happen to have any that'll get in those cracks right now, so I've got some on order, I just haven't gotten it in yet. So we're going to move on to start putting the pieces together side by side. So we got like piece 1 and 2, you know, these go together like so, and we got to get the joint here to hold them together and glue it together and stuff right in here. So we're going to start working on that. I'm going to sand, go ahead and sand this side and this side on all the pieces. That way I can get it nice and smooth, and when I glue it, it'll actually stick. So for that, I'm going to use a power sander. So I'll fast forward through all this because this thing's pretty loud and you don't really want to hear it, okay? Alright, let's see if that helped them fit together a little bit. Oh yeah, that lets them join up a lot nicer, it looks like. Yep. Now I've actually got nuts and bolts to hold this thing together while we glue it, and clamps, so we'll be using those. It looks like it'll work good, and maybe a little bit of warpage in it. Which, you know, you print something this big, it does happen, you get warpage in it. See, we'll have a crack here that we'll have to Bondo, sand and Bondo, and then we'll sand all this. But we're going to do all that next week, or next show. So we're just going to try and get it all glued together today. I'm probably not going to glue the top on it up here, try and get the dome around glued on, and maybe set those in place so we can see what they look like. But I probably won't get to gluing those on until after I've sanded this and sanded those down by hand, and then get them all ready to go to town. Okay, so I'm going to jump to and get the rest of these sanded up real quick. So we'll just keep fast forwarding. That out of the way for a minute. There's one, and I believe that's piece 2. And these go together like so. What I need to do is, I got my box of bolts here. Get this open. Now we got 5mm, 4mm, and 3mm, and these holes are supposed to fit 4. So we will go with these, should be long enough here. So I'll take one of these. Yeah, that fits nicely. These. Ooh, I know what I need is some tape. I gotta go get some tape. I got some right over there on the shelf. Good part about being in the garage, tape is handy. Okay, so let me go grab some tape. I'll be right back. Alright guys, I got some tape. Let me cut this off here real quick. Razor blade's getting dull. Pull a piece out here. Get it so long. Oh, come on. Get it long enough. One of them days. Now see what I'm going to do here. Hopefully you can see this. I don't know that you can. I'm going to take this real quick and just put it over the head of the screw on that side so it holds it in place. At least hopefully it'll hold it in place. It's by holding that in place that when I go to put the two sides together, it'll be a little bit easier to get them to line up real quick if that screw doesn't want to fall out on it. Alright, there we go. That ought to help. Okay, so now you can see the screws are in there better, so they're not going to come flying out real quick. And that way when I take these two sides, I gotta figure out where I need to be here. Take these two sides and put glue on them, and then line up these screw holes the best I can. Uh-oh, that one don't line up. Come on, baby. There we go. See now, so now I lined these up here, as you can see. Hopefully you can see. So now I can put a nut on there when I clamp it down, put clamps on there in between them, and that'll hopefully help it dry with the glue. So we got that. So we are going to be using Loctite super glue. I did buy or order some accelerator for this. It just hasn't shown up yet. I don't know what's happened to Amazon. The last couple weeks it's been terrible about getting things shipped. It's been great forever. This last couple weeks I've had a really bad time getting things to show up, at least on time. But I digress. So here we go. A little bit of Loctite on here. Don't need tons. We do want it to hold together though. I need enough that it'll stay together once we get it together. And I don't necessarily want to glue the bolts in. That's not my point of this. I'm going to take the bolts out afterwards probably, as long as everything holds together well. If it doesn't, I may leave them in. But we'll have to wait and see. Alright, so let's get these to line back up here the best we can. There we go. Now I got all three of them in there. Now I can grab me a clamp real quick. Stick me a clamp right there. And stick me, I don't need a big one for that. I'll use a little one for there. Stick me one down there. That's got all that clamped together real tight. Now I'll just grab me some nuts here real quick. Now I'm only going to finger tighten these. I'm not going to try and tighten them down real tight because I'm not worried about it. Maybe grab a quick little needle nose plier to it. But I'm not going to go finding a wrench or anything for it. Oops. And these gloves look like they're more of a pain for this. I might have to take them off while I'm doing this. Yep. It's okay. Ugh. Now I'm going to do these and let these cure for a day or so before I do anything else with this piece. So once I get all this on here, I'm going to hook all these up, get them all on here, and I'm going to let it sit for at least 24, if not 48 hours before I do anything else to this model. Because you do want to give this stuff time to dry. I mean, you really do. Let me get that tape out of there. I need to put you down here maybe? Nope, that ain't tight enough. I guess I do need a bigger one down here. Let me get this nut on first. Seems to have done it. I love when he designed these, how he put these bolt holes in here. It makes it so much easier to draw this stuff together and get it to stick and stay. I mean, it really does make a big difference in the model. These little guys don't have much clamping power, but I think it'll be enough for right here. Alright, so there's piece 1 and 2 put together. And as you can see, it's going to need a little sanding to make them level across here. There we go. Make it level across here, but we'll take care of that. Alright guys, well I'm going to jump through and do all of them real quick. I'll just let it fast forward through it because it's going to be kind of boring watching me glue each piece on. So I'll be back in just a minute. Y'all just hang on. I'll fast forward. Guys, last little thing we got to do, which I'm not actually going to glue these together yet. I need to do a little more cleanup on them and work on them. But this has been a pretty long video so far. Is need to put that part on. But that gives you an idea what it's going to look like when it's done. Yeah, there's going to need some Bondo work and some sanding and some pretty good work inside the little cross pieces up here. But we'll take care of that next video. So next video, we'll come back, we'll sand the dome, we'll glue this part on, sand the whole thing down, Bondo all the places we need to Bondo, sand it again, put a good coat of primer on it, probably sand that down. Hopefully we'll get to the point where we paint it. We'll have to just see how things go. As you can see, this looks pretty good. I'm going to cut this board down again next time so it's not quite so big. So there you go. There's our R2-D2 dome. At least it's the beginning of it. Now I did start up a Patreon account. So if y'all would like to help me out with Patreon, you can donate whatever you want to. You don't have to. It's not required. My videos will always be posted for free. But I will post photos and information and stuff like that on Patreon ahead of time for the people that are my patrons. I'll also release the videos early to you, and there's a couple extra little perks depending on what level of Patreon you pick. That's completely up to you. You don't have to. I'm mostly looking for some help to pay for the parts and plastic and electronics that it's going to take to build this guy. I'm not really worried about trying to make money off my channel. I never have been. I do the channel for fun. It's not there to make money. I make my living other ways and don't plan on stopping to make my living other ways. So, if y'all want to check that out, there'll be a link to it at the end of the video. And there'll also be a link to it down in the description down below. Alright, so thank y'all for watching. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe. Please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, have a great day.